how to make a great roguelite. Oh fuck. Obviously there's a lot of factors as to what makes a great roguelite, and some of those aren't even unique to this genre. However, if we go off the idea that roguelites are meant to be, games where you do the same thing over and over again, slowly getting more powerful as the game increases in difficulty, then I'd argue there's three main elements: progression, variety, and goals. For progression, it's simply the paths the player takes to get stronger in your game. For these examples, we'll use Ancient Dungeon just to keep everything under one roof. In Ancient Dungeon, you go through the 5 floors of the dungeon, with the final one being a boss fight. On your first playthrough, you can go through every floor and you can win. However, you're most definitely not going to do that, you're just probably going to die. So already, to progress and unlock new upgrades, weapons, and other things that'll help you out in your runs, the player needs to progress through the dungeon. And the more they do that, the more things they'll unlock. Even if they fail, they get Insight, which is a special currency that can be spent to unlock permanent upgrades that add new content into the dungeon. So the player can choose what new things they want to get first. There's also weapon augmentations that add permanent upgrades to your weapons, and the currency for those is only obtained by beating the final boss over and over again. So every time the player wins or even loses, they're still progressing and unlocking new things to make them even stronger. However, this system does have some flaws. Some floors. Progression should be a rewarding experience. The player should look forward to unlocking the next upgrade, and when they get it, the high of that new upgrade should carry them to the next upgrade, and the next one, and the next one, and it's just this beautiful walk from one great new ability to a chunk of content to the next one, and it really tingles my nipples in all the right ways. But since these are permanent upgrades, eventually you run out of new things to get. So if we can take that feeling of getting an awesome new upgrade that really changes how you play the game, and is just plain fun to use, and put it into the actual runs, instead of just being something you unlock once, then that high of getting stronger and stronger and unlocking all these cool new things can repeat forever, since every run is randomized and new. I sounded so hopeful. As well as this progression should have different paths. Obviously not everything needs multiple paths. It's good to have some upgrades that are just, this is good, I will get this because it is good. But if all your upgrades are like that, then there's no strategy or thought behind which upgrade to get, because if it's just a linear path of upgrades, even if the player can choose which to get first, eventually they're just going to end up with everything and none of that would have mattered. So to summarize, make your progression feel exciting by having those upgrades be genuinely interesting and game-changing instead of just simple stat increases. Take that feeling of excitement and implement it into the runs, so instead of having that feeling once and then never again, players can have it every single run. Although permanent upgrades are still a good thing to implement, just be careful with how you do it. And don't have your progression be completely linear. Yes, like I said, it's fine to have linearity or no-brainer upgrades, but by having upgrades that the player has to think about and strategize based off of what's going on in their current run, then it makes each choice feel more impactful instead of just being a straight line they cannot fully diverge from. So progression should be fun and unique, substantial progression should happen more than just once, and it shouldn't always be too linear. For variety, let's look at how Ancient Dungeon does it again, because fuck you. Obviously in roguelites, the layouts are randomized, the enemies you encounter are randomized, the upgrades you find in the runs are randomized, you can't fully predict what's going to happen next. That doesn't really make it surprising. Imagine there are two types of variety, predictable and unpredictable. Predictable would be like the different floors. Sure, the layouts of them are randomized, but I know what I'm gonna see, what rooms will spawn, and enemies fall into this category as well. I don't know where, but I know what's gonna be in there. An example of unpredictable variety would be the upgrades. Yes, I know what I might find in there, but since there's so many, I can never have a clue as to what I might get and how it'll affect my run. A good rule of thumb as to whether something is predictable variety or unpredictable variety is to think about if your player is able to actually plan for it. I can plan for the kinds of enemies I'll find in the next floors, or the boss I might suck off next, so they're predictable variety. I cannot plan for what upgrades I will find because there's no way of me knowing, therefore it is unpredictable variety. And having a healthy balance of both is what makes each run unique and fun. If everything is too predictable, then it kind of just feels boring, but if everything is too unpredictable, then it just fucking feels unfair and kind of pointless since you can't strategize and leads to a very surface level experience. But you also need to think about what you're making unpredictable or predictable. Usually, player input is predictable. Your weapons will do a predictable amount of damage, so the player doesn't feel like they got fucked over because the weapon randomly decided to not do as much damage as it should have, or just misfire, break, or whatever. If those elements, the ones the player is actively controlling, are too unpredictable, then it's annoying and unfair. So think about what elements of the game is something you can plan for and implement your strategy or game plan, and what elements you can't know enough about to be able to properly plan out each run. My god, voiceovers are so fucking hard. Make the player's actions predictable. Make it so they can make a general plan, such as do more damage or don't get hit, but never make it so they can 100% or even 70% plan out everything they're gonna do. Because then, well, just flat out, it won't be varied enough. It'll be predictable and boring. Each run should have a unique combination of predictable and unpredictable to make the player have to think on their feet and come up with something new every time they play. And to use an analogy you're probably more familiar with, you gotta stroke the bass and suck the balls. Our final stop in this pretentious fucking parade is... I fucking forgot. Goals! Wow, your game sure is varied and there's new upgrades for the player to progress towards, but well, what if they just fucking did that? They got all the permanent upgrades and they beat the game on the hardest difficulty, they're super bright for literally anything. Well, what are we to do? Goals! Ancient Dungeon has these achievements that task the player with doing something. A pretty good way of adding goals to a game where you basically do the same thing over and over again. I'd call these set goals, as they were made by the developer for you to complete. But there's also player goals, whether these were intended by the developer or not. The player isn't explicitly told to do these things, but I just fucking wanna. Ancient Dungeon's got a lot of set goals, some worse than others. There are fun challenges like beat the final boss in under a certain amount of time, but you'll notice some of these give a reward and some don't. When it comes to set goals, the reward is so important. Because if a super easy achievement gives a better reward than a super hard one, then it's not looking too good. As well as this, those rewards need to be actually interesting. You can't just expect the player to do something super hard for like one new upgrade that they might not even find in the next run because, you know, random chance and whatnot. So not only do the set goals need to be fun little things for the player to do, but you also need to incentivize the player to complete them with unique and interesting rewards. Keyword interesting. Please, set goals should not just be a list of things to tick off. Make the player want the reward more than just the bragging rights or the clean look of 100% completing all achievements. Player goals are a lot more interesting. Like I said, these are not explicitly set by the developer, but they can still be influenced by them. A good example of this is some kind of bestiary. If you're autistic enough, then this is all you need to keep playing the game for hours and hours, but even if you're not too keen on 100%ing the whole thing, it can still be a motivational boost to keep playing when you know for a fact you haven't seen everything. So bestiary is a good way to influence player goals. But variety also helps in this, as well as progression. In fact, all three of these kind of connect in one way or another, so don't skimp out on any of these funny factors, but variety and player goals can work well together by making the player ask what ifs. What if I combine these two upgrades that make my projectiles slow? Do they go even slower? Answer is yes, and it fucking breaks everything. There you go, mystery solved. It sounds stupid, but these little goals can really add up, and it's not just random things the player thought up while in the shower, it could be influenced by the set goals as well, such as trying to complete multiple really hard achievements at the same time. Player goals aren't something you can have a definitive list of, and are unique for each person, but try to inspire and make room for as many of these as possible, so your player has the freedom to create their own fun in ways you never could have thought of. And also, for being real, it distracts them from the actual fucking goals, which gives them even more playtime, even if they're not actually doing anything at all. So let's just summarize everything about these three little thingies that I just made up. Progression should be exciting. Players should look forward to the next upgrade, and this excitement should happen both inside and outside of runs, both permanent and temporary upgrades and whatnot. But this progression shouldn't be too linear or brain dead. Yeah, there should be things that are just flat out good, but make the player think about their next choice and have those choices be motivated by the variety they've been served in their current run. Variety can be either unpredictable or predictable. Unpredictable variety allows each run to have its standout moments that give it its own unique edge with things that you can't plan for. Also, a really good thing to add is just like really rare things. Like, they don't need to be that awesome, but if you just take something and make it really rare, then when we find it in the video game, we literally just start coming through our shorts. It's funny because I'm not even wearing pants. Predictable variety is what you can plan for. It still won't be exactly the same every single run, but they're predictable enough for you to be able to make a strategy based on what the runner's given you so far. These two dictables should be balanced and be made fair to the player. If they can plan too much, then it's boring, and if they can't plan enough, then it's unfair. And to summarize the goals, there's set goals which are made by the developer and they should come with unique and interesting rewards that incentivize the player to complete them, and it shouldn't just be obnoxious checklists to pad out time. Player goals aren't something you can count, but they can be influenced by set goals and bestiaries, as well as how much variety your game has. Player goals are just fun things players think up and can be short-term, such as, oh, I want to flick myself all the way over there, or more long-term, like I want to get every single upgrade. There's no fucking reason, it just seems fun, but we all do it, and sure it isn't exclusive to roguelites, but with how varied they can be, it's often a big part of it. Oh, my head hurts. I don't know what the fuck I just said. please correct me, or like send me to some happy little facility where I can get my jello. Thanks for glorping by. Join the Discord and tell me why I'm wrong so I can ban you. I'm right, you're wrong. Oh, fuck my neck.